Nate Thomas,
Here we are.
welcome to the lounge, brother. Look, I'm sure it's a lounge that you've sat on before. You would have heard Tanya say that she's slept on it. I've slept on it. Like, how familiar are you with the lounge, bro?
Very. I was actually thinking about this before I came. It's actually one of the most comfier lounges I've actually sat
It's
on.
fucking great, isn't
Between
it?
classes, having a coffee, just reading a book, chilling out.
Love it.
Talking to people.
Love
it's
it.
Great for it like this. This is perfect. Yeah.
Mate, it's a privilege to have you in here today. You've been with One Big Heart for a short time, but we've been working really closely together, and I feel that I've got a really good sense of who you are as a person, and that's drawn us like close together. I feel, bro. Yeah, do you feel that?
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure,
I
big
feel
time.
that. People, for those of you out there who don't know Nate, Nate Thomas, former military serviceman. You were a corporal in the Army, from my understanding. We might dive into a little bit about what that means. And you're also a new dad, not just a new dad. You've got two boys now, yeah?
2 boys.
Yeah.
2 balls of energy.
Watch where you're going there, bro. This is a family show. Awesome. All right. Cool, and we're going to dive into that stuff as well, mate. The place that I want to start with you today is really simple, man. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up around here, western suburbs,
Yeah, right.
Liverpool, Moorebank, Camden, Campbelltown, Preston, Scasula, all over.
Okay, so you moved a lot.
I moved once or twice, but it was just always in different areas, whether it be for work, school, friends' houses, whatever it was. But,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, first
Okay.
job was out in Ingleburn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I had an interest in the Army at various times in my life. What was it for you that took you to the Army?
I was looking to be a part of something bigger than just being localised to being in a factory. So
Okay.
that's where I was working before the Army. I was working in a factory every day. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. I lived it. It was a good job.
Yep.
It was a sheet metal factory. But it was repetitive. I was going in, I was getting hot and bothered, getting itchy, doing the work. I was good at it, but it started to just it was dawning on me that I wasn't seeing anything. I was seeing the same equipment, doing the same things.
Okay.
And so I wanted to do something different, be a part of something bigger.
Okay, so I feel within that, like was there a lack of creativity in that space?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You were you just going through the motions every day, yeah?
Yeah, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And so, but it's a big leap to go, okay, one day I'm a sheet metal worker.
Yeah.
I'm going Army. Like, you could have gone anywhere. You could have gone and said, well, I'm going to go and be a doctor, or I'm going to be an artist, or I'm going to be in the Navy. Like,
Yeah.
what drew you towards Army?
Watching too many movies, probably. Watching a lot of movies.
I'm a sucker for an action movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I love the action movies, and I love watching in those movies the relationships that people developed with each other.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it
That seems like a big thing.
Mm.
The camaraderie.
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
Big time.
All right. So what did the road in? So what? Like, talk us through what happened. Like, I was a sheet metal worker at one point in time too.
Mm.
I left that job in a massive fucking blow up. I had a fight with my fucking boss. I fucking walked down the street. I fucking caught a cab.
Yeah.
My boss turned up at my house a couple hours later. We had a fucking Barney. What did it look like for you leaving sheet metal working? Like, how did you come to this decision that?
It was support all the way. So I made the decision a year before when a friend of mine had joined the Army, and it was during his march out, his ceremony. He's finally become a soldier.
Oh yeah.
It was then I was just like, look at all these people, how they've known each other for a few months, but look how close they are. Look at look at what they've been through together. And then that was the decision that I made. And I texted my uncle at the time, who I was working for.
I'm glad you two didn't have a punch up then, considering it was your uncle.
Yeah. Yeah. I told him, and then it was just nothing but support.
Mad.
So it was
That's the
pretty
best.
Good. I mean, and his son was in the army. He done some pretty awesome things in the army as well.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Yeah.
And so what does the road into the army look like then? You can't just call the army and go, hey guys, give me a job, right?
After looking at some of the people that are in the army, you'd think it would be like that. But no, there's so much paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of screenings, a lot of fitness tests, psychological evaluations. It's pretty intimidating if you've never done any sort of an interview before even.
Yeah, okay.
So it can get pretty intimidating, lots of medicals, and that's over the course of a few months. Some people it takes a few months, some people they go to the recruitment office and 2 weeks later they're at Kapuka.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so it's what, skills, it's a skills-based test or is, you mentioned psychology, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume it must also be a values-based kind of assessment on who you are and whether you're ready.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So they ask you what you'd like to do.
Yeah, and what was your answer? What did you want to do?
Infantry.
Cool.
Infantry.
Okay, that's like me. I didn't say infantry though. I went for the reserves. The reason I couldn't, I could have got in, but they were only going to offer me something like being a chef or being in the band because I'm colorblind, actually, and that was it. Actually, the what am I trying to say? Get it out, Carl. When the army delivered me that news and they gave me the scientific reasons behind it, that actually alleviated for me a lot of emotional turmoil that I'd had throughout my childhood and my teens and whatever about the fact that I was colorblind. Because I thought that being colorblind meant that I was just dumb, like I didn't learn my colors properly, you know what I mean? Whereas they put me through a series of like the tests with the dots and what can you see in here, and then they explained it to me about cones and rods and the physiological makeup of the eye and of the iris, and that actually, even though I didn't get in, because my answer to them was, I don't want to change my career. I just want to shoot guns on the weekends. That was what I said to them, right? Yeah. So, because they said, you could be a chef. So, even though I didn't get in, I think that was a pivotal moment in my life that changed my beliefs and my understanding about myself.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you went through all of the physical evaluations, all of the psych evals, and what was your time frame then through that process?
I think it was about 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
So every other week I was filling out another form for the army, filling out another document, doing police checks, background checks, all that sort of stuff.
And so you working at this time or not working?
Yeah, still working. I worked right up until 2 days before I left for the army.
Until they said yes?
Until they said, you're leaving on this day.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And so, what, leaving to where you said Kapuka before?
Yeah, so Kapuka is down in Wagga Wagga. It's known as the home of the soldier. That's where all the recruit training goes down. So everyone who's everyone in the army goes through to Kapuka.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's
what
where
happens?
they do their training. They essentially get stripped down from an everyday civilian, broken down to be built back up into a soldier.
Right.
Learning everything, basic human stuff, like just doing your washing by yourself, because you've got to think, a lot of people come out of high school, straight out of high school, straight into the army.
Mum's done everything for them forever.
They don't know how to turn a washing machine. They don't know where to put the powder. They don't, and so...
Fuck, okay.
So they really do cater to everyone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool.
But, so that's what that looked like.
Yeah, right.
Getting to there. There was awesome stuff like learning how to shoot, It was just a basic thing, because you got to think, it's not just infantry soldiers going through recruitment. It's cooks, PT, or maybe not PTs, but everyone, engineers,
Communications
guys,
IT, technicians,
yeah.
IT, all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone.
right. So not everybody goes into the army because they want to shoot guns.
Well, not everyone, no. Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
See, I've never contemplated that as I worked in IT, but I never would have thought I'll go get a job in IT in the army, even though I was, like you, very brought up on military style movies, like Top Gun.
Yeah.
My uncle showed me Top Gun when I was like 6.
Yeah.
Like, it's still my favourite movie
Great
ever,
movie.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so you get to Kapuka, you're in this, you jumped into this massive camp with all of these people that you've never met before.
Yeah.
That are all there for different reasons. What's that like? What's that look like? What's that feel like? Like, what's going through your mind at those kinds of times?
It was really amazing, because I got to meet people from all walks of life. I got to meet farmers. I got to meet people that used to work for the bank and were just tired of their 9 to 5.
Yeah, right.
I got to meet ex-police officers. I got to meet everyone. You name it, I've probably met them. And then the amazing thing was, everyone has a story. Regardless if you don't think you have a story, you have a story.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my passion for people, community, really started to build up and up, because one day you have a room of 4 people, and you get to know those people and you get to build this relationship, and then something happens, someone does something wrong, and they're like, all right, everyone change rooms, you got to have it done in 20 minutes time. If it's not done, we're out there, we're doing this.
Yeah, okay.
So then you change the rooms, you're in this new room again with a whole bunch of different people.
Right.
But the one thing that doesn't change is your situation. Everyone's in the same situation, so we're like, how do we make the best of this? What do we do? Get to know each other down and dirty. Quick, yep, sweet. How do we build on each other's strengths and weaknesses to make this time right now as best as we can? Okay,
so as part of your training, do they train you with those skills?
I think it just happens naturally to everyone, because you're in this room for a lot of the time when you're not doing lessons, when you're not getting marched around the place, and there is a lot of lessons. And if you're in that room, you're talking to these people. You need to talk to these people to stay sane, because you're at recruit training for 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So it's like you're living with these people, you're eating with these people, everything with these people, showering with these people.
Yep. Yep.
And when I say showering, you are showering with these people. Yeah.
Pass me the soap, Johnny.
Yeah, big time. So,
okay. Yeah, right. Cool, man. And so you form forming relationships based on stories is like it's that. I think that's the fundamental piece for building community. And I think that within all of our stories, whether we think our stories are so unique or so different, there's always going to be a part of that story that there's similarities between, and that's how the bonds are formed, right? Like you could be a farmer from Broken Hill, and you could be a banker, but there's a banker in Sydney, but there's something in there. Perhaps it's about family, perhaps it's about schooling, perhaps it's about sports, perhaps it's about whatever, where there's this crossover where you go, right, there's our similarity. That's our thing. That becomes our thing, yeah?
Big time.
Yeah. Cool, okay, so 3 or 4 months is training.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
And then it's another 3 or 4 months of training at your employment, your role of employment. So it's called initial employment training. So you graduate from recruit training, you march out, it's all hand shandies, everybody's loving each other, they think they're on top of the world. And then you go to recruit, employment training, and it's just, you get off the bus and you feel like you're starting back at square one. Back at square zero. It's
another fucking shitstorm.
Oh, it's a whole bunch of different people, a whole different ball game of learning, and it's just, it really is like you're starting back at square zero again.
Okay. But intense, man.
Yeah. But I suppose it's like with anything that you do. You go through primary school, you get to year 6, you think you're the king of the school, and then boom, year 7.
Yes.
Starting back at square
I
one.
hated that.
Yeah.
I fucking
Going
hated
all
that,
the way
man.
to year 12,
First
starting
day I
back at
turned
square
up to year
one.
7 was not a cool day for me. I did not
Yeah.
like that. No.
Intense. Yeah.
And so then you're chosen. Did you say profession? Did you say what your chosen career then was infantry?
Infantry.
So if my chosen career path was IT, I would go to a fucking computer lab and be trained on Microsoft or in coding or
Yeah.
But then you guys get the hard slog. But does everybody get that? Like, is everybody trained to hold a gun?
In recruit training, yes.
Okay.
Whereas when you go to employment training, if you're we call them geeks in IT, they love that.
Yeah.
They would be more so doing their computer stuff. And
Great. So no more holding guns for them.
No, not really. But they'd have to stay compliant in knowing how to use a weapon. So every few months, they'd have to do weapons handling tests.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's not as much emphasis on it because
they're in an office.
There's not as much need for it.
Yeah. So what does infantry training look like then? Is that like hardcore?
It's I wouldn't say it's crazy hardcore. It's a big mindset shift from doing whatever you were doing before to infantry training, learning about tactics, formations, orders. Orders are a big one. Learning how to interpret orders and learning battle verbs and things like that.
Right, so it's not all just we're running around this field for 6 hours today in the mud. No.
So a lot of people think it's just this physical aspect. Is in the army, you'll train and everything else will come along. Well, no, like I need to be able to understand what the enemy is doing, why they're doing it, and how to use my section to counteract what they're doing and overcome that. Adapt and overcome. So there's a lot of lessons in it, a lot of theory lessons that people wouldn't otherwise think twice of.
We've spoken before on the topic of language, using very specific language, the way that you read your mission in simple language determines a lot of different things.
Big time.
Do you want to give us an example of that?
Yeah, so a basic mission statement could be 3-3 Charlie is to clear objective so-and-so no later than this time at this location.
Yep.
That's very basic. I'm probably a bit rusty. I haven't done it in a while. But you notice in
it's
that...
okay. No one's going to do an assessment on you out there.
I'm always looking over my shoulder.
You've left now.
But you'll notice I said clear there. And clear is a battle verb. It means something very specific as opposed to me saying 3-3 is to destroy. 3-3 is my call sign, or was my call sign.
Yep.
For a long time. So 3-3 is to clear, or 3-3 is to destroy, or 3-3 is to neutralize. 3-3 is to, these words are very important because they all mean very significantly different things. So clear just means I'm clearing an area of anything.
You're sweeping the floor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Essentially.
Okay. Neutralize means what? Because for me, like if I shoot someone, then they're neutralized. And probably through the language of films, we have this misinterpretation of shit, right?
Big time. So what you just described to me would be destroy.
Yep.
You have completely rendered the enemy useless.
Yep.
Neutralize could just mean I've handcuffed you and detained you.
Gotcha.
Well, you're neutralised now, aren't you? You're not going to be able to...
I've slashed your tyres and taken your gun off you.
Yeah. Same as even vehicles. Instead of destroying a vehicle, which would mean up to 90% of it is not in this realm anymore, we say immobilise or neutralise the vehicle. How do you neutralise a vehicle? Let's just take off all its wheels.
Yep.
Destroy all of its wheels.
Gotcha.
Vehicles rendered useless. So,
interesting.
So words mean things.
Absolutely, and I love that you've touched on it because I see in the English language, in the modern English language, how we have lost our ability to understand the potency of the words that we use in our everyday conversations with people, and in our and in our thoughts with ourselves. Relating back to yoga, when we're teaching yoga, we use Sanskrit, right? Yeah. Sanskrit is a very basic language. It sounds technical and it can at times sound fancy and this kind of thing, but it is a very basic language, and it's basic because then it can't be misconstrued. It can't be, in our English language, people who are being taught English as their second language, that it challenges them so much, because we've got so many words that are even spelt the same but mean different things, or spelt differently but sound the same and mean different things. And I think that we've really lost our ability to use explicit language for a certain effect, and receive the effect of language, right? I think, and when and it plays out in areas like when we're having conversations with people, because our language has become so diluted, we might not recognize that someone's in a world of hurt right now. Or that someone needs help right now. You know what I mean? Because the language is so misconstrued and dithered down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, do you feel that going through that training affects the way that you speak now in the regular world?
I'm definitely very specific in what I say. Jess, my fiance, always picks me up on how I'm using different words, different big words just for the sake of using them. But I'm very specific in what I say, and even when people text me or I'm reading things from like a group message or something, I'm just thinking, I don't think that was the right word to use here. Cause when
you're receiving there, interesting.
And I'm just like, I would use this, and that's something I enjoy doing. I enjoy looking up the words and going, oh, that's not what this means, and I can see what you mean, but wrong.
Yeah, right.
No,
Okay.
So it makes me very specific. I don't think it was just because of the army, but it was a nail in the coffin, I suppose, in using specific language for a specific reason. Yeah, okay. To have a specific outcome.
Okay. Now, I'm sure that there are hundreds and hundreds of stories that you could tell us about the army, and I'm sure that there's some that are classified as well that you couldn't, right? And so there's a journey in between there and now, and I'm privy to a little bit of why you're not in the army anymore, but something happened, bro, and you're not there anymore. How long were you in the army for?
Yeah, so I was in for 8 years, coming up on 8 years.
8 years. That's a long time. Were you deployed?
No, I wasn't. But
not deployed.
I was taken overseas. I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can go overseas and not be deployed.
Essentially, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's more of a training deployment as opposed to anything else.
Cool.
It was hard for me not being deployed. It was really hard mentally.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Talk to us about that. Why?
The easiest way I can explain this is, let's just say for yourself, you were this amazing swimmer.
Yep.
You knew everything there was to know about swimming. You knew the aerodynamics of water, if that's...
Yes, let's go there.
Yeah, sure. You knew that, you knew the physics, you knew the nutrition, you knew how to move your body exactly the way you did it.
Yeah.
But you never stepped foot in a pool.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what it was like for me. when I left. It was one of the hardest decisions I had to make was
Yep.
to leave when I did, but it was also the right decision
Yeah.
in the end.
Okay.
But yeah, it was hard because I did training, just got myself to this great level of knowledge about everything Army, and it just didn't come to fruition.
Okay.
Most people go, oh, that's crazy, why would you want to be deployed? Like, just be happy with the job that you got. And I was happy with it, but I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
I'm not putting everything that I have put together
Yes.
into action.
Okay. And you moved to the rank of corporal, which you said to me earlier before the camera was rolling. You said to me it's the second lowest rank, but it's the best rank.
It is. I probably don't mean second lowest rank. Like it is in terms of progression. In other ranks, we call it ORs. It goes, so you'll be a recruit,
Yes.
get promoted to recruit trainee, get promoted to private, get promoted to lance corporal, get promoted to corporal.
Okay.
And then after corporal, it's sergeant, and then warrant officer, and then.
Okay. So
and that's
there's
the
not.
highest you
So
can-
yeah. Righto.
That's the yeah.
Gotcha. So there's a few in between, and what is that? So what is that? What's your role then as a corporal?
So as a corporal, I would manage anywhere from about 6 to 10 people directly. That would be my section.
Yep.
I would be there to train them, to mentor them, to
Yep.
guide them, and they would be my boys. They would
Right.
be my section. Or
And-
girls. There are girls in the
Of
infantry
course,
now.
of course, yeah. I'm sure that's a lot bigger portion these days than what it was.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Right. And so then, if you were deployed, then your job would be to lead them during that deployment, yeah,
Yeah.
and reporting to your other
Yeah.
officers above you.
Yeah.
Okay. And where was I going to go with that? At what stage did that happen then? At what stage did you get to? So how did that go? Moving through the ranks.
It was interesting. Going from a private to a lance corporal is, people say it all the time, it's the hardest jump you'll ever make.
Right.
Because that's the first real promotion that you get.
Okay.
And it comes with responsibility.
A level of
Because
leadership, yeah.
As a private, as a digger is the colloquial term, we just have to look after ourselves, mate. We're looking after our mates as well,
Yeah.
but we have to make sure we are there on time. That's all we have to worry about. We get given a time, be there, be in this location with this dress, with this equipment.
Yep.
That's all we have to worry about.
Yep.
As a lance corporal, you have to make sure all of your men have the right equipment.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's not them who get burnt, it's the lance corporal.
Yep.
They have to have the right equipment, they have to have the right dress, that you have to make sure they have enough food, they have enough water, they
Yeah.
have enough everything. Otherwise, everyone looks to the lance corporal for that guidance, for that
Gotcha.
little bit of
So
mum and dad-ish, essentially.
So level of responsibility goes from 0 to 100.
Big time.
Yep. And then more and more and more as you
Yeah.
get towards the full corporal rank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so how long for you?
As a lance corporal,
Well, between private and yeah, your lance
I think I
corporal.
was about a private for maybe two years, 2.5, 3 years.
Okay, cool.
And then lance corporal for about 2 years, and then corporal for the rest of my career.
Right. And is there people that just want to stay as privates? Does everybody have that
Yeah,
mission to want to
yeah.
move? No.
There's definitely people that do like the digger role.
Yeah.
They get found out eventually, and they get promoted.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. There are
So
some
everyone's
people
on a progression path from the minute you walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Big time.
Okay.
There are people that, just don't suit the role
Yep.
of lance corporal, and they do, unfortunately, sometimes get promoted, and
Okay.
it shows their ability to lead people.
Yes, of course, yeah.
I think when I was promoted to Lance Corporal, I was probably promoted a little bit too early because at the time there was not much rank around, so they needed people to be promoted. So as a digger, I was always stepping into roles above my own rank, and that's a big part of the reason why I got promoted.
Yeah, okay.
It was way out of my comfort zone too.
Yeah. Good space for growth.
But yeah, I didn't have any role models at the time either
Okay.
to learn from to how to be a Lance Corporal or a Corporal properly. So
Okay.
it was learning on the spot, big time.
Do you feel that perhaps that led to, was that the start of leading to the end, the fact that happened?
No, not necessarily,
Okay.
because at that time I had a great section, great group of guys who pulled me up when I needed to be pulled up,
Yep.
and they were just weapon soldiers.
Yeah.
People sought after our section because we were close, we loved working with each other, and just a great group of dudes, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move it along. Let's fast track it, because clearly you're not in the army anymore. Something happened, and I only bring this up because I know that you freely bring it up. As a yoga teacher these days. Talk to us.
Yeah, so towards the end of the career, it was almost the same sort of feeling in the factory. I was doing the same thing every day, and I wasn't going anywhere with my role.
Yep.
Sure, I could have been promoted, and I could have done this, and I could have gone down that path within the army, but I wasn't getting deployed.
Yep.
There was no deployments on the horizon, so I started to get very stuck. Felt stuck. I felt just stuck there. So at that time, I was diagnosed with major depression, and it really hurt me because I'm generally a fun, bubbly person. Everyone knows me. I'm the class clown. You know? So,
Yeah.
but and yeah, that I think that took a toll on my family and myself big time. So then that started to put me down here, and I had done yoga about a year before that,
Yeah.
or about a year or two before that. And then an opportunity came up to do yoga every day whilst at work, and I was at that point where, okay, I've been diagnosed with A, B, and C. I can either do this, stay here and say, let's keep going down this path and see what happens,
Yeah.
or I can say, this is not right, I need to fix it.
Okay.
So, and that's what I did. I went down that path of fixing myself both physically and mentally, because at the same time as, you know, the mental injuries, I also had a pretty significant back injury where I was unable to walk for a few days at a time. Lumbar spondylosis, there was herniated discs, slip discs, desiccated discs, all up and down the back, not just localized to one area, but the lower back was really, really painful. And you know, there was times where I remember just struggling to do basic human things like sit down on a toilet. Dressing myself was a battle, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, it was hard.
Is that attributed to pack walking?
Probably over time.
Yep.
You know, pack walking does a lot of spine compression. So, and I didn't know much about physical fitness, rehabilitation, recovery. So I'd do, you know, 5, 10, 15 kilometre pack march with about 30, 40 kilos on my back sometimes. And it doesn't sound
big,
like
bro.
a lot, but over those 15
kilometres,
Ks,
that's
you know.
big, man.
Yeah, so...
That's big.
And what that was doing to the spine was just compressing it, and those discs weren't getting that nourishing fluid back into the spine. They were just getting compressed. Some of them were just completely desiccated, like a dried out sponge.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So let's rephrase that then. The back injuries are not from pack walking, because people pack walk and they're fine. It's from the lack of understanding around your anatomy and proper recovery techniques. Yeah. Okay. So you've got this fucked back, but proper. Yeah. and you've been diagnosed with major depression, and then yoga came along.
Yeah. So it was more
In the army.
Yeah.
They introduced you to yoga in the army.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. It's gone places, you know. Army's even running yoga teacher training,
Which you're a part of, which we'll get into.
So that's awesome. But it wasn't necessarily the physical aspect of yoga that was really have an effect on me. I mean, it has an effect on everyone. Everyone does yoga and goes, "Oh, I felt great afterwards." But
yeah,
it was the little lessons of philosophy that were getting pounded on me every day that were just like, why aren't I thinking like this?
Yeah.
More often. Why don't I bring this into my life more often? Why don't I do this at home more often?
And prior to that point, had you recognized that you could question your own thoughts and you could change your own thoughts?
No, I knew that being in the army, I had a strong mindset to be able to push through things, push through pain, push through adversity. And I could always hear that little voice saying, "This sucks, I hate this." And I would push through it because I would be like, it's just a sound in my head. I didn't understand it at the time. And then that's when it started to dawn on me that you could look at your thoughts objectively.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's where it really started. The way I describe it anytime is I was unplugged from the Matrix.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I owe it to a couple of people. But the sergeant that I had in the army at the time, he was the rehabilitation platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
So he looked after everyone. But he was qualified in yoga, so he would get us doing yoga every day. And
so did they? I've got a question. It's just coming because you know now you're mentioning support from other people. When they diagnosed you with major depression, there's the army who diagnosed you with major depression, an army doctor, or was it outside?
So they sent me away.
Yep.
And it was an outside doctor.
Okay, cool. But then, did you have a counsellor? Did you have a psychologist? Did you have a psychotherapist? Did you have anything like that?
Yeah. So I had a psychologist.
Yep.
And a psychiatrist as well.
Okay.
Hated the psychiatrist. Sorry if he's watching or if he sees this, but just didn't feel a connection between him.
Yep.
His go-to was one assessment of me, pills.
Yep.
I hated it. I hated the fact that the pills weren't going to solve the problem of me not being able to go on deployment. The pills weren't going to solve the problem of me being stuck in this job.
Yep.
The psychologist is what I think helped even more because we were able to talk through things, talk through problems, talk through adversities, and
there's a big difference
tools.
there.
Tools.
There's a big difference there, and so that's just for those who are out there that don't quite understand that. A psychiatrist's main role is to prescribe you onto a pill that's going to fix things, as opposed to, as you mentioned, a psychologist is going to talk to you and try and uncover what's underlying that's taken you to this place. Yeah. Cool. Okay. And so you had that going on, but even though you had that going on, something different happened with yoga, right?
Yeah, it was the yoga. Yoga big time it was carrying me through. I found when I was doing yoga and listening to the lessons of philosophy that were being thrown at me, it was like, it gave me something to think about, to achieve, to, I don't know, aspire to. I don't know what the word is, but it was directing me on a path. It was waking me up.
Would you say it gave you the option to integrate a different way of thinking into your life that perhaps had never been presented to you before? Yeah. Because it's one thing to talk about your problems. We can all fucking talk. In fact, we all love to talk about our fucking problems. Yeah. But talking about your problems doesn't mean that they're fixed, right? And in fact, in some instances, talking about your problems compounds your problems because you get so used to fucking talking about them that just becomes the general narrative that is running in your thought process all fucking day long. Yeah. and this is psychologists know this as well, and this is the reason why psychologists refer so many people to yoga these days, because yes, you can get aware of the problem, but getting aware of the problem doesn't change the problem. You got to add something in, so that you can then do something with your awareness of the problem.
Yeah.
So you got introduced to it in the Army. Did you say you started and then you had a bit of a break and you went back? Or
Yeah, so in 2018 is when I injured my back.
Yep.
That's when the first injury occurred. Like any silly little soldier, I hid the injury and I just pushed on, got on with the job, and it probably made things worse.
Yep.
And then in 2021, I think it was, the injury popped back up again, worse than ever, and then that's when it inspired me to go back to the yoga.
Oh, so you sought out yoga so that it could help you physically.
Yeah.
Same. That's why that's same. Yeah. I was overtraining myself, doing all these hectic, crazy things, lifting all these fucking weights and really fucking broken. Looked amazing on the outside, but really fucking physically broken, and denying that I was mentally broken, although having fucking my depression come back and being anxious as fuck from the drugs and alcohol that I was doing on the weekends. And but even that mental side of things didn't drive me to yoga. It was the physical stuff. But my experience was a little bit the same as yours. The feeling of mental relief that I had from the yoga that's the thing that made me fucking keep going. Yeah, I mean, these days I can do a fucking handstand at the age of 41, right? But that wasn't ever the goal. The goal was just to fucking feel good.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think that's one of the best parts of yoga for me. I know at the time I was just like, financial stress, work stress. What am I going to do if I leave the army? You know, I can't support my family.
For sure. That would be a massive fucking thing, right? Because you were infantry.
Yeah.
Like, not many skills are transferable from fucking carrying a gun around to fucking work, to being on the streets working, right?
So it was a lot of voices just all trying to talk at the same time. And then when I found every time that I was getting on the mat practicing yoga, I was there. I was on the mat. I was just worrying about how long I was going to be held in a high plank, or how long I was going to be held in a down dog that's apparently this rest position.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And that's where my mind was. And
took me about 3 years to believe my yoga teacher that downward facing dog is a resting position. So the body's got to fucking open to allow it to be accessible.
It just pops up on you though. Like one day you'll be practicing and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get back to down dog. And you're like, whoa, what?
What?
And
what
then
did I
you're
just
in down
say?
dog and you're like, oh, that feels good.
Yeah. It's weird, It's so weird, right?
It's a strange feeling.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So how long did you do yoga with the army then?
So it was about a year with the army, and then towards the last 3 months of the year, the last 3 weeks, there was talk of teacher training.
Yeah.
Being provided by an external provider.
Yeah.
And
who were they?
Raw Power Yoga.
Shout out Raw Power Yoga. You guys must be doing good things. Yeah. Where are they? Brisbane. They're Brizzy. If I ever come up, I'm checking you out for sure.
So did the teacher training, and I didn't have really an idea that I was going to teach at the time. Yep. However, whilst doing the teacher training, my sergeant asked me, hey, you're doing the training now. A part of the culminator, or a part of getting the tick in the box at the end is you have to do 80 hours worth of teaching. So I was like, okay. And he's like, so do you want to start taking some classes in the army? Sweet. And I was like, whoa.
So you've done 7 years with the army by now. Yeah. Yeah. You've done how many months of yoga? A year, and you've done a year of practicing yoga. You go through training, and now he's like, do you want to teach him?
Yeah. It's interesting, you know.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had you decided you were leaving at this point in time?
I was on that path. So the reason...
Did you have to get to the end of your 4 years?
In the army.
Is that how it works? Does it work in 4 year blocks like a prime minister's term?
So you have an initial employment contract or an initial employment period.
Yeah.
So it's essentially you paying back your time through training and making sure the army gets something out of you before you leave.
Yep.
So that is 4 years worth.
Yes.
After that 4 years, it's just like a 9 to 5 job. You're free to leave.
Oh, you're right.
I say that loosely, but you're free to leave whenever you want.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you decide?
It was once I was moved into the rehabilitation platoon, and the doctor said, "Hey, look, your back is giving you this much pain right now. You can stay in. You'll get better. Your pain won't go away. You'll get better, and the pain will be hidden for a few months at a time. But if you stay in and you re-injure yourself, your pain is going to be this much for the rest of your life.
Yep.
If you stay in even longer, you injure yourself again, your pain is going to be this much for the rest of your life." So,
okay.
And at the time, I think my son was probably about 2.
Yes.
So, and I couldn't pick him up at the time.
Fuck.
And it broke my heart, not being able to just do normal stuff with him.
Yeah, right.
So that's partly the reason why I was like, okay, I need to start giving back to my family. I need to start giving back to my partner, because we moved our life from Sydney. She's from Sydney as well.
Yeah.
All the way up in Brisbane. Had a child up there with no family around. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So potentially lots of things then leading into your major depression that you were diagnosed with. And so did you take the drugs?
I did for a little bit.
Yeah, I did for a little bit.
And then I felt like it was making me worse. If anything, it wasn't doing anything.
Did the same thing to me. I thought it fucked me up knowing that I had to take a pill to be normal. So I just fucking weaned myself off them. Don't know why I thought.
Yeah, I knew I was treating symptoms and not the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So so was the major depression? Was that a factor in your decision? Like, you recognise that? Did you recognise that had been onset by the fact that you were again in this place feeling lost without having any fucking free reign of creativity, etc.?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the injury played a lot in that as well. Not being able to move my body. I didn't realise how much movement plays such a big role in mental health. And then big time.
Right.
Big time.
Yeah.
You know, you do one good yoga class where you sweat, do some stuff. Maybe you don't even sweat. Maybe it's just a yin class, but your body has moved. The energy travels through the body a little bit better. Your breathing is lighter, and you go, what did I just do? I just moved my body.
Just moved your body.
It. Moved my body, and I was here on my mat. That's where my attention was.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big standouts that separates, apart from the philosophy that we talk and that kind of thing. That's one of the big standouts of yoga. The physical practice of yoga that we call asana, the physical practice of yoga, is developed to make you feel good, not to make you look good, not to make you, be able to compete on stage, not to be able to make, it's designed to make you feel good. Because when you feel good, you can function good. Yes, it's designed to keep you healthy as well, right? And extend your longevity of life, so that you don't become a burden to people in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s with, your broken fucking back or whatever. How is your back these days?
It's better than it ever was.
Yeah. Still have some bad days, I'd imagine.
I still do have some bad days when I don't move, when I'm not...
Interesting, right? When you don't move. Yeah.
And I come do some yoga. I feel a bit stiff when I'm doing the yoga, but then by the end of the practice, with the heat even, that's amazing for injuries. I'm moving again painlessly.
I notice a common misconception that when we're injured, we should stay still.
Big time.
There's a massive misconception about the human fucking body.
Well, from the time
And
you're
there's
raised.
I think it comes from the fear of, well, I don't want to make it fucking worse, which you can do, right? But when you're under the guidance of a teacher that knows your injuries because you've been up front with them, then So the days that that's exactly what you're talking about. The days you have less movement, your injuries flare up more.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
And basically the reason for that is you get injured, the muscle, you go, okay, I need to rest that. But you're not just you can't just isolate that muscle. The body is this big mechanical thing where everything intertwines with everything. You rest, and then you're resting all the muscles around that. They're going dormant as well. They're starting to slow down. They're starting to get a little bit weaker because you're not doing anything. When you move, it's called active recovery for a reason. You know, we're moving, we're strengthening the body, we're strengthening the muscles around the injured area to support it better, to support your injuries better.
And if you ask any physiotherapist, what they will say to you is, once inflammation subsides, the path to recovery is to rebuild the strength. Once inflammation subsides, and not to say that it's gonna, completely subside, but it's a big one for people when they get hurt. And how's the depression these days, bros?
It has its moments, it's up and down, but it's nothing as powerful or as common as what it was before.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same.
I start to notice when I start to let the house get a bit messy or something like that, I notice it's because I'm not thinking right, or my thinking's not straight. So, but that's only because I have tools now to go, okay, this isn't right, this is happening, you need to start working on this, and this.
And that comes from the yoga philosophy?
Comes from yoga, comes from all the lessons that I've learnt there, lessons with you, lessons with all the teachers that have something amazing to say in each and every practice. Yeah,
I love that, brother.
So
I love that. And I want to steer things away. I want to steer things over to a different story. 'Cause we mentioned you got 2 boys.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
3 and
another one is 5 months old in the next week.
Their names are?
I have Noah, he's 3.5.
Yeah.
And Lincoln, who's almost 5 months.
Almost 5 months.
Yeah.
Hence the new dad bit.
Yeah.
How do you find yoga plays out in fatherhood?
I think it's helped me a lot because of the whole looking at your thoughts objectively. Nobody's going to be able to raise kids and not get frustrated. But I can listen to those. I cannot get stuck in a robot, path of thinking and think, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm going to tell them to do this, this, and this because that's what they have to do because I'm the dad and I'm the big guy, I'm the winner. I can look at my thoughts objectively and go, I've had a shit day. This, and this happened. I'm not being who I am. I had a fight with this person, or I had an argument with this person, and now it's seeping into my relationship with them. And it can change my whole demeanour between, running around the house like a goof to just sitting on the lounge and not interacting. So, but because of yoga, because of the objective awareness, I can go, look at what you're doing right now. It's okay to have a rest, but it's also okay to interact and love and, have a relationship.
Yeah, sweet, man.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to ask you a couple of questions, like a bit of advice, because your situation is particular, and so firstly, how did you know that you were depressed?
It probably wasn't even myself who noticed.
Yeah.
It was the people around me.
Uh-huh.
They're just like, hey, what's wrong today? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah, right.
I'm just being here. I'm alive.
Yeah.
Like,
interesting.
you know, and then I started to pick up on what they were saying, and I was like, you know what, you're right. My thinking has changed from this is where I want to be, this is where I'm going, to
Yep.
I'm back here, I'm stagnant.
Yeah, cool. And so for people out there who have perhaps friends or family sort of giving those kinds of suggestions, what would your advice, what's 3 steps for people that you would give to people that are having that happening around them, who might be in disbelief?
The first one is you have to be blatantly honest with yourself and with the situation that you're in.
Fuck yeah.
And the second one is make a choice. You can make a subconscious choice and not do it. So you can do nothing. That is a choice. That's essentially a choice. Do nothing, keep going on the same path. But subconsciously, you are saying that you're okay with where you are and what's happening to you. That is a choice. So you need to flip that on its head and go, okay, this is what's happening to me. I'm going down this path. This is where I need to be. This is where I have to go. That path is unknown. It's dark. It's hard to go down the right path and say, this is what I need to do to get better. But it can just be a small step.
Yep.
The smallest step is often the best one.
Okay.
Don't stay still. You stay still, you stay stuck.
Okay.
So small steps is the biggest thing. It can be something as simple as looking at how you sleep. You know, sleep sets our hormones for the entire day, so just wake up the same time every day. Start there. Start with a habit or something like that to get you into a habit of saying, okay, this is where I wake up, let's build on that. Maybe as soon as I wake up, I'm going to go meditate, I'm going to go exercise.
Yep.
So start small. Start small. It's not...
So firstly, be open and honest with yourself about your situation.
Yeah.
Secondly, realise that you have choices. And then thirdly, it sounds like you're talking about a bit of action. Thirdly, take action by means of a small step to make an improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at what point in time does the reach out for help? Is that sort of tied in at the same place?
It's
as
all
that third step?
No one of these steps are going to be easy
Yeah.
by themselves. And it's surround yourself with like-minded people that want to be out of that place and want to be better. But a call for help is anytime, anytime, anywhere, any time of the day. You know, so
I think that that's important, because I think often that even once we realise that, okay, things aren't quite right, well, how the fuck do I know what to do about that? All I know what to do is just live my life how I've been living it, which is it's taken me here to be this depressed fucking mess. So I think that take action of starting to integrate some changes, and at the same time call out for help to get some guidance, really go hand in hand. Yeah. I
recommend, psychology to anyone as a starting point. There's tons of resources out there to get psychological help, but seeing a psychologist, you might not get the right one to begin with, you might not vibe with them, but see a psychologist. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. A lot of older people tend to steer away from psychologists because they think, oh, what could this young doctor teach me about life? And well, they could teach you a lot, because look at where you are, look at where they are.
Yep. Interesting point. Yep. Interesting point.
So
and
see a psychologist.
And obviously, which we touched on already, start some physical movement.
Big time.
So
Get
I mean,
some
it's
movement
what, yeah.
in your life.
Get some
every
movement.
Day. you know, and it doesn't have to be this crazy, it doesn't have to be a program. You don't have to stick to a program. Just move the body.
Move the body.
Go for a walk. Go
Get
for
out
a
and
nice
fucking
long
walk.
walk. Take the dog out. The dogs love that. You know.
Yep.
And just move the body. Doesn't have to be for hours and hours at a time. It can just be a 10-minute sun salutation even.
Yep.
You know, and you'll be amazed at how that sets the tone for the rest of your day.
Love it, bro. Some good advice there, my man.
Yeah.
Mates, thank you for sharing your story.
That's okay.
I feel that there's so many different touch points in there that a lot of people out there will resonate with, you know, whether, you know, I mean, it's probably highly likely that most people who are out there aren't military style people, right? But all walks of life have these crossovers, like we mentioned in the stories that you share with your roomies through the army, and that's where the bonds form. So, you know, you never know what it is that we say that's going to touch somebody else's life in a dramatically positive direction. And so I'll thank you for sharing your story today, brother.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
And I appreciate the way that you share and integrate your story through the way that you teach in this space. I feel that you have a lot to offer, and that you've come a really long way in a short time in terms of your journey, of recognizing that you're depressed or being diagnosed with depression, to seeing a psychologist, and to finding yoga, and to becoming a teacher. And I feel that there's a real rapid succession in there that allows things to be fresh for you, and then therefore delivered in a real way in the room, bro.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything you want to say to the people before we wrap things up today, brother?
Life's a garden, dig it.
Life's a garden, dig it.
Yeah.
Cheers, bro.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you.
Mate, thank you. Get yourselves into one of Nate's classes, guys. Have yourself a cracking day. If you've left us comments, we will respond to them at a later point in time. And thank you for joining us, lounging around. It's the One Big Heart Show.